I'm not somebody that you should worry about leaving a woman in one room with me that I would rape. And I feel that my rapes, especially the rape, because the murder, I feel that it was just a pure, we fight over a knife, somebody gets stabbed in the process, and it was not, if I wanted to stab her, I could have killed her in Durban, I could have killed her the first night we got to Cape Town. So that was not my intentions at all. If I wanted to kill her, I could have got her into Mthatha, where there's much less people, and got her into a bush BNB there, killed her there.
Welcome back, guys. I trust you are doing well. Now, today's true crime story is a crazy one, I bet you, and even if it was the script for a movie, it still would not be believable. But it's a true story, and it's currently ongoing as we speak. It's a case coming from Joburg, South Africa, and it involves a man by name Thabo Bester. Now, Thabo Bester died in prison after being sentenced to life for raping some women he befriended from Facebook and also taking the life of his girlfriend. But whilst he was in jail for life or in prison for life, he ended up dying in a fire in his cell, and then he ended up mysteriously being alive again outside of the prison, chilling with another man's wife, and now, as we speak, he has been rearrested. It turns out he wasn't a ghost, he's actually alive, and he faked his own death. This is an elaborate scheme that involves a prison break, the faking of a death, a missing person being later found as a dead body in a prison which he was never actually sentenced and transported to, and a doctor who was all over the news as one of the best celebrity doctors ending up to becoming an accomplice of this so-called Facebook rapist alongside the father of this doctor. Yeah, the plot really is thick. And I will advise you, if you are ready for this true crime story, please buckle up real hard and let's go.
Dr. Makutumana, do you have anything to say? Dr. Makutumana, do you have anything to say? Dr. Nandipha, why did you leave? Number two, what is it? Number two.
So, like I said, if this were the plot of a movie, it would still be very far-fetched to be believable. Now, as we speak, South African authorities have taken over the management of a maximum security prison run by a private British security firm after a high-profile convicted murderer was accused of faking his own death in a fire. And then, afterwards, he also escaped the prison to live in the open with his celebrity doctor girlfriend. Now, this is the case of Thabo Bester. It's currently ongoing in South Africa as at May 2023. Now, Thabo Bester was deported to South Africa by Tanzanian authorities on Thursday, about 2 weeks ago, after being arrested in the border town of Arusha, having apparently fled the country. And at this time, or prior to this time, it was thought that Thabo Bester was actually dead in a prison fire at where he was actually serving a life sentence for his previous crimes. Now, it's a bizarre story that has embarrassed South Africa and exposed alleged loopholes in the management of a private prison and captivated the nation with every blockbuster revelation. And I tell you, this crime is a very crazy one. I've covered a lot of different true crime stories, but this seems like something out of a movie. Michael Scofield of Prison Break has nothing on this guy. Thabo Bester is way ahead of the whole prison break plot. And as we go through this story, you begin to appreciate why I'm stating this as a fact. So, 35-year-old Thabo Bester was convicted for murder and arrested with his girlfriend, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, and a Mozambican national named Zakaria Alberto on Friday. That's over 2 weeks ago. Now, according to South African Police Minister Becky Cele, he indicated that these three people had several passports on them at the time they were arrested, and they were trying to cross over into Kenya. Now, Bester was sent to the Kozi Mampuru Central Maximum Prison in Pretoria, where he will be closely watched, and they indicated that they are placing a 24/7 surveillance on him. And this is because of what has happened from his experience in the previous prison that he was sentenced to serve his life sentence. Now, they are watching him 24/7, and they are going to make sure that this does not repeat itself. But then, his doctor girlfriend, Nandipha, was also deported to Tanzania and named as an accomplice. She was arrested pending a court appearance on Thursday. And per what the police is saying, she is going to be charged with murder, fraud, as well as aiding and abetting the escape of Thabo Bester. We are going to get into the details. I'm just giving you a summary so that when I start breaking it down, you begin to appreciate it better. So, it didn't end there. Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, who is Thabo Bester's doctor girlfriend, who, bear in mind, is also married with kids, had her 65-year-old father also aiding this convicted murderer. And her father, by name Zolile Cornelius Sekeleni, and another person who is a former prison warden of where Thabo Bester escaped from, and his name is Senohi Ishmael Machora. He is 38 years old, were all arrested and accused of being accomplices in Thabo Bester's escape. Now, the two men, that is Dr. Nandipha's father and then the former prison warden, were charged with defeating the ends of justice, fraud, murder, and arson. And this charge was handed over to them in a Bloemfontein court on Tuesday. They did not enter a plea and have no lawyers on record. So, they are still remaining in custody pending the next appearance date in court. Now, we get into the well-calculated and organized escape debacle. So, Thabo Bester was sentenced to life in prison in 2012 for the rape and murder of model Nomfundo Taihulu. So, as was reported at the time, this model was actually his girlfriend. And aside this one, Thabo Bester allegedly had also sexually assaulted some ladies that he befriended from Facebook. So, the court had found him guilty previously of those rapes and even also of robbery of two other women whom he lured to his home from social media, and as such he had that moniker or that tag being placed on him as the Facebook rapist. He was initially reported to have died in a fire at the prison last year. So on this D-Day, suddenly a fire just started from the cell of Thabo Bester. This is the same cell that Bester was in when he was serving his life sentence. And suddenly this cell was gutted by fire. It didn't seem out of place, especially since there are possibilities of fires being started due to several reasons. So until a fire service investigation would come in, it didn't really seem like there was much to be suspicious of. And when the fire was finally put out, they found a dead body, and this dead body had been allegedly burned beyond recognition. So they concluded that then it was Thabo Bester. But little did they know that it was not Thabo Bester, and that Thabo Bester, some way, somehow, had managed to leave the prison, and the body, which had been found badly burnt in his cell in the fire, was the body belonging to another person who has actually been declared missing and is being looked for by the police several months prior to this fire. Now, this is a prison. This is not a hotel anybody can check into and check out of. So the question then is, how did this guy who is actually missing manage to find his way into the prison, and more specifically into Thabo Bester's cell? And why didn't he even flee from the fire even after getting there? And then on the flip side, how did Thabo Bester leave the prison? Or better still, how did he leave his cell in the first place? And how did he even leave the prison? These are questions that are key. And so it becomes obvious that you cannot conclude Thabo Bester acted alone, because definitely he couldn't have done all this without any help. So the plot thickens. Now, at this point, he was initially reported to have died in the fire, but then, in November last year, the official position by the South African prison authorities that Bester had been found dead in his cell began to unravel after local investigative outlets called Ground Up reported that there were some doubts about this guy's death. Authorities then later concluded that the burned body found in his cell was not Bester, and the person had died before the fire began. So it means that the body they found was not Bester, and it's not just that, the person was actually dead even before the fire started. Now, a case of murder is under investigation following the outcome of that DNA analysis, which confirmed that the body of the deceased, which was found in the cell, was not that of Thabo Bester. So the autopsy report went on to further reveal that the deceased has died as a result of blunt force trauma to the head and was already dead prior to the arson incident. So then it meant that somebody who had actually been murdered, and his body was used to replace Thabo Bester in a prison. How did this happen? How did this happen? Because it's not something that can just come out of nothing and just manifest like that. This shows an elaborate plot between all parties that were involved, and they executed it to the letter. It didn't end there. Some way, somehow, 3 G4S officials who were also manning various points of the prison were also cited as being suspects in how Thabo Bester managed to escape from the prison. Now, it is not yet clear the role that each person played as far as these guards are concerned, but this is an unraveling case. And what has been established so far is that they told the committee that there was no security camera footage of the cell on the night of Bester's escape due to a power failure. They then admitted in questioning that the cell is located near an emergency exit and did not rule out staff collusion in the prison break. So how convenient that on the night of his escape, some way, somehow, the security cameras were not working. It didn't end there. Now, Thabo Bester's girlfriend, the doctor, is a prominent medical doctor and entrepreneur with more than 100,000 followers on social media, where she posted glamorous pictures. She also promoted media appearances and boasted of awards such as the Mail and Guardian's 200 Young South Africans of 2018. Now, you would see that she was on the rise. She was enjoying a very prominent career, and she was at a point in her life where somebody would actually say that she had everything a person would wish for. She was happily married, allegedly. She had 2 kids, very beautiful kids, a very thriving practice. And what else would you want? Well, in her case, it turns out the other thing she wanted was a convicted rapist who was serving life. Not just a rapist, but also a convicted murderer. Now, according to reports from the prison, from some inmates, Thabo Bester, whilst in custody, actually told some of them that he wasn't going to be there for long and that he would soon be out of there. So you could see that he had an idea what was happening or what was going to happen. And in fact, even whilst in jail, Thabo Bester was living an extravagant life. He had an expensive watch on and he wasn't wearing the default prison outfits meant for inmates. He was wearing normal clothing, expensive ones at that, and he was living a very exciting life, to the point it's alleged he actually posted selfie videos of himself dancing from prison. So you could see that he was enjoying certain privileges in prison. I'm really hoping that this court case, which is now being built, will uncover a lot of things, and that the security agencies would go beyond whatever stumbling blocks may be put in their way to uncover all the details of this case to the letter, because it is a big shame to South Africa as a country and their prison and security systems. Now, it didn't end there. After Thabo Bester had been reported dead, he was seen later on, almost a year afterwards, at a mall with the doctor, who is also married. And that was when suspicions started circulating that, no, we've seen Thabo Bester. We've seen Thabo Bester. And initially, people were a bit skeptical because he's also been declared dead. But fast forward, it turns out that the guy was actually alive and had faked his own death. Reports are coming out and indicating that allegedly his fiancée doctor secured 3 dead bodies and used one of them to replace him in prison, and also used 2 of them, or was planning to use 2 of them to fake their deaths so that they would be in the clear and ride off into the sunset, so to speak. But I keep asking myself, what would make such a successful woman decide to go down a path of crime and risk it all and actually, maybe, just maybe, end up losing it all? Because it looks like she might well be on her way to losing it all. But that is what she did. And to date, I'm baffled because I still don't get it. Now, she's been arrested alongside Thabo Bester. Her charges have been read out to her. Thabo Bester didn't seem remorseful, and I'm not surprised because he has been here before. He was actually serving a life sentence, so to him, he went on a holiday and he's back. But I don't know, a bit of me pities the doctor. I feel there's more to the reason why she decided to help Thabo Bester. Apparently, they had a friendship in the past. They attended the same university, and then afterwards, they lost touch and reconnected later when Thabo Bester was sentenced to life. So Dr. Nandipha was actually visiting him, and then it got to where we are now. I have a strong suspicion that maybe Thabo Bester was either manipulating her or blackmailing her to help him. I don't know. But she's also suspected of laundering several millions of money for Thabo Bester. So I am curious, because in as much as she could be like the Bonnie to his Clyde, and they deciding that, okay, we are going to ride off into the sunset. Maybe she has a thrill for bad boys. It's a possibility, but as much as that could be possible, I'm wondering why her father, who is in his 60s, would decide to also help him, knowing very well the implications thereof. I feel there's a question mark there that needs answering. What pushed them to help him? Because his daughter is already married with kids. So why would you decide to help your daughter to help a criminal escape? And it's also being reported allegedly that Thabo Bester and the doctor were also in a relationship. So what happens to that marriage then? There are lots of questions around this case, but like I said, it's a fresh case and it's still ongoing. We are monitoring this case so closely. And as and when updates and more details are available, I'll make sure that I'll pass it on to you here and you'll be the first to know. But what do you think about this whole thing? What do you think pushed the doctor to help him? What do you think goes on in the mind of Thabo Bester? He's been reported as being a very sweet and slick and smooth talker, to the extent that it's alleged when he was rearrested and brought to court, he was trying to suggest that he had something to say, but allegedly he wasn't given a chance to speak because to them, his mouth and his words are his deadliest and biggest weapons. So you saw him consulting with his lawyer. Maybe he would channel it through his lawyer, I don't know. But some people are also thinking it's impressive the way they went about the whole thing. I don't subscribe to that. I think that we should stop sort of glamorizing and making crime look like it's something to admire. They are criminals, well, allegedly, yet to be convicted. But like I said, I'm following this case closely. But hey, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. Turn on the post notifications. Leave your comments in the comment section. Do you think that Dr. Nandipha is being manipulated or coerced by Thabo Bester? Let me know what you think. Let me know what your suspicions are. Let me know what else you think the security agencies should be looking for or the courts should be probing into. But like I always say, stay safe, keep an eye out. I'll catch you next time.